Today I'm going to be talking about rhythm, belonging, and attention. Attention in each classroom, as teachers know, is a living, breathing thing. It ebbs and flows with the energy of the group, the clarity of the task, and the sense of safety that each child feels. When children feel that they belong, their attention expands. They're curious and engaged, and they're ready to explore. And when they are anxious or uncertain, attention narrows and fades and fragments, often flitting between the task and the social cues around them. I've seen lots of different leadership styles in action in some of the most socially and economically challenging areas of the UK. And with decades of delivering rhythm-based interventions in schools, my priority is always to lean into the culture and the values of the school so that the teachers and the children always experience rhythm-based intervention as an integral element of the school week. So, speaking of fitting in, I was working in Washington, D.C. in 2018, and I was surprised when a colleague's partner said to me, "We've noticed that you're very good at fitting in." And my response was, well, as a professional musician, that is actually a very important part of the skill set, so perhaps that's why. But this little conversation has really stayed with me. You see, as school leaders, I feel it's worth pausing to ask how important fitting in really is. There's a subtle but powerful difference between belonging and fitting in. When children are fitting in, they're kind of compensating for the sense that they cannot belong as they are. There may be many reasons for this, and I've seen similar patterns in socially deprived settings and also in exclusive schools. Against a complex backdrop of social and cultural messaging, children may wonder whether they can ever truly belong or merely have to just fit in. So, to what extent does fitting in impact children's experience of school as a series of transitions? As the majority of children move from home to school, from playground to classroom, and from one task to another, they must navigate a series of adjustments that require emotional regulation. These may be felt in a variety of ways, ranging from smooth to abrasive. For some children, however, each transition during the day involves a sense of rupture. Children feel that they must disengage from a perceived sense of safety and the known as they adjust, often at the sound of a bell or a klaxon, to the new unknown. And this is why some children experience going to school as a sequence of shocks to the system. Staying on task is almost incidental to the sense that they must survive, and this becomes their main priority. And as we know, a child's attention span can be as short as 3 seconds, so this is super important. And yet, the pulsing of dopamine release, which supports the brain's subjective experience of timing and the present moment, always remains steady. There are particular neural pathways known as thalamocortical loops, and these are important for selecting and maintaining attention on particular aspects of tasks, such as following the rule of a task, so that even after a delay, the brain is still able to continue with that task. Rhythm is processed within these very same pathways. So the question is whether rhythm-based intervention might be able to help with these children's fragile experiences of school, learning, and attention. For all children who are navigating transitions, there are costs in terms of energy and self-reliance. Many learn to pivot with flexibility in the moment, and they learn to adjust with ease. They appear proactive socially and grounded in an inherent sense of resilience, safety, and belonging. But among the children who are just coping, there are very different goals. They are trying to fit in, trying to behave normally or to appear to behave normally, and the effort that is required to suppress their actual internal experience of stress during a normal day at school can become quite exhausting. These children may appear to make poor choices, though an element of fear or panic is really likely to drive their response. Well-adjusted children, on the other hand, as every teacher knows, are more goal-oriented and more deliberate in their decision-making. They're typically driven by strategic, well-considered and adaptive responses. School can be a place where goal-oriented behaviours are continually reinforced by the school system of incentives and rewards, whereas maladaptive responses can become more entrenched by admonishments and detentions, perhaps deepening the grip of those fear-based signals. The question is whether it's possible for a child who typically receives warnings and detentions to switch lane, to experience learning as rewarding and school as a place of growth and reward. So let's think about participating in an intervention. Although all the children identified for reading intervention definitely try to focus their attention, they have described it as fading or scattering into tiny pieces. After 10 sessions of rhythm-based intervention, the same children are able to read with ease and to anticipate what's coming up next in their reading and to answer comprehension questions accurately. They describe feeling happier and calmer, and they say that they can hear their teacher more easily and also know what they're supposed to do in the classroom. The changes that the children describe point to their increased ability to select and maintain attention. And these children are able to focus and remain on task, whilst at a deeper level they described feeling more settled and better able to self-regulate emotion. They were no longer messing about or constantly chatting or joking. Rather, they were able to listen and to follow their teacher's instructions without difficulty, and they were delighted by the changes in their reading behaviour, their learning behaviour, and their teachers provided all the feedback corroborating this progress. So reading, of course, is for pleasure, but it's also for learning and for life. Reading is not only a gateway to literature, it's a portal into every single discipline, from accounting to zoology, to unleash the potential of every child, whether that's in academic or practical subjects, basic skills, legal or financial professions, or performance in liberal arts, manufacturing, public services, caring, therapeutic and medical professions. There is a vocabulary and a discourse for the children to unlock through reading. We do live in an era of technical advancement, and yet it seems that we're still refining our educational systems to the point where children leave primary school able to read well enough to access the secondary curriculum. So without reading fluency, children simply cannot read for pleasure, nor can they keep up with their peers. This must be a priority for all of us in the National Year of Reading. Reading well and reading for pleasure, reading with fluency are all necessary for all children, not just for learning, but for life. Thank you so much for joining me again, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.